Hello all, Old Geek here, and I'm nosing through old magazines again, and this is the Dragon issue 21 from December 1978, volume 3, number 6, priced at $2. Um, is this a badly deteriorated cover, a dodgy scan? Um, Look, it's not a bad drawing. It's not the worst drawing for a cover. You've got a white dragon and a couple of adventurers taking on the white dragon, but the colours look really, really ropey. Really ropey. I'm hoping it's just a bad scan. Oh, look at this text again. Pale blue on a pale cover. Silly, silly, silly. Oh, it's a Jack Hayes cover. I guess this predates those classic Judges Guild adventures. Still waiting for my updated version of Dark Tower to arrive, which I kickstarted. Looking forward to that. Right, so hopefully it was just either a bad scan on the cover, because it's not great. It's not great. Decent drawing, just the colours are just wrong. Okay, let's have a little look. Dungeon update and expansion. Oh, that's the dungeon game. They never had that. Well, Parther adverts started to look a bit clearer. Still, these model scans could do with being bigger and more expressive. Winter Fantasy, January the 6th and 7th, 1979, Lake Geneva, the American Legion Hall. How things would grow. There'll be no pre-registration. Registration fee will be $1 per day. In my money, that was about 45 pence. It's probably the price of a beer. Hey. Right, okay, contents. Search for the Nile Revisited. Okay. Hall of Mystery, Rail Baron, a future classic dissected. That other dungeon, an old favourite rejuvenated. Lots of dungeony stuff. So Hall of Mystery is a do-it-yourself D&D module. I've just gone through a copy of White Dwarf where there was very little for the fantasy player. This looks more like it. This looks more like it. I like some of the things I'm seeing here. I'm quite optimistic, shall we say. Because this issue had to go to press much earlier than usual, because it's Christmas, the return of Out on a Limb has been delayed 1 month. We are trying to get back on what we once called our schedule, and we're gearing up with a new printer with a longer lead time. Okay, as long as you get a better crispness of colour on the covers, hope so. Right. This issue contains an article set to arouse the ire of many fantasy purists. I'm referring, of course, to the Rail Baron piece. I don't know. I mean, what is Rail Baron? Is it a board game? I don't think there's anything wrong with including board game stuff. We've had board game stuff in these magazines. But I don't know anything about Rail Baron. So, well, we'll find out when we get there. Hopefully not too many articles spread over multiple pages. Search for the Nile Revisited. Okay, published in The Dragon last month. I can't remember anything about Search for the Nile. So, it's been a little while since I browsed the last issue of The Dragon. So, if I can't really remember it, then it didn't really stand out to me, did it? Was it a board game, strategy game? Looks like it's a strategy game. Oh well. Let's keep going. Come into my parlour. Ooh, this is the release of Tomb of Horrors. Marvellous. What What a polarizing adventure Tomb of Horrors was. I understand why people criticize it, but I can't help but think people who criticize it fail to grasp, or just dig their heels in and refuse to grasp, the reason why Tomb of Horrors existed. It's to test a certain type of player, and nothing else. Nothing else. It was never meant to be a campaign adventure. It is strictly a test of player ingenuity with regards to game mechanics and environment. Nothing more. Nothing more. The other humorous side of D&D, or you do kill too many characters, don't you? I don't believe a DM should ever kill characters. Not intentionally. The environment, the game rules, and players themselves kill characters. The DM just sets the challenges. It's up to the players whether they engage them or not. But if as a DM you are setting out to kill characters, you are doing it wrong. Unless, of course, you're playing Paranoia, in which case you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Yes. Yes. So, what we got now? Caption contest. The monk is still fighting with how many? About a dozen arrows stuck into him? More than that? So, why don't you come up with a caption in the comments below? I can't spare at the moment. It takes me a while to think of these sort of things, and even then they're usually rubbish. Trying to think of... No, I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything. Something referring to the monk's ability to deflect missiles and him not being very good at it. I don't know. No. Your DM's too soft on you for letting you play the class of monk with a dexterity of less than 15. What do you call a 25th level wizard? Whatever he wants, absolutely. But it's by Brian Bloom. The Bloom brothers and their D&D... they soured their D&D reputation by acting like knobs. But lots of titles. Look, whatever your opinion of what the Blooms did regarding TSR, having these sort of lists of titles, lots of lovely descriptive words, the Lord Protector, his most distinguished, peerless immensity, sagacity, whatever, or just reading from that, these are wonderful descriptive words. Really give a real old English feel to them. Yes. Though I have noticed some of them are spelt in the American manner. Bah! Dragon Lords. That's the name of our campaign on a Monday night. Dragon Lords. Game review. Oh, it is a game review. And there we go. Look, they've tucked in the beginning of a game review and then continued on page 25. Yeah. Cure for the same old monster blues. That's called reskinning. You can call a monster whatever you want, describe it what you want. You can use the same mechanics. The players aren't going to know, not unless you make it obvious. I mean, these aren't hobgoblins, they're knobgoblins. Sorry, I couldn't affect it. I couldn't resist it. But no, seriously, I added in some turtle men in my OSE game, and basically just lifted stats from other humanoids and added a little special ability to enable them to move in water, and an armor class adjustment if you attack them from behind because of their shell, and the fact that most of them can't speak. Most of them are mute. Only a few of them have got any sort of speech capabilities. And there you go, it's a whole new monster. It doesn't matter that whether I've used the goblin stats or orc or hobgoblin stats or even lizardman stats, whatever. It doesn't matter. They feel like different creatures. Give them different weapons. Okay, these do a d4 damage, little clubs. There you go. So you don't have to use monsters as they come out of the book. Inflation in D&D. I know certain people do like D&D economics. Only if the characters get silly. If you've got one little shop in the village and he's got a couple of flasks of oil, and you want to buy 10 flasks of oil, then he might try and wheedle a few extra silver out of you, because he's going to have to order an extra, and you are a captive market. But you don't need to go too mad. Profit proofing. How to counter foretelling spells. Why do you counter them? Why counter them? I mean, look, clairvoyance, clairaudience, wizard eye, ESP, and X-ray vision are 5 spells designed to test a DM's patience. No. If the player character has used his ability to learn a spell of a relevant level, and that spell is taking up a slot in his spell book, and his minimum and maximum spells and all of that, why do you try to counter it? Because he's invested resources in acquiring that spell, copying it to his book, and is using some of those mental resources to hold those spells, the relevant spells, in his memory for that day of adventuring. And I believe you should reward players for thinking like that, for planning ahead, thinking, I'm going into a dungeon, I'm going to try and get a divination style spell so that my fighters aren't jumped by shadows or whatever's lurking ahead. Why do you punish them? In fact, look at the advert a little earlier on. Tomb of Horrors. Tomb of Horrors was an adventure specifically written to take advantage of these sort of spells. The sooner your clerics and your wizards, mages, whatever you want to call them, worked out that those were the sort of spells they should be taking for the adventure, the better, and the more likely you were to be able to get further into the dungeon. I don't want my players taking magic missile all the time, or fireball all the time, or cone of cold all the time. Same spells over and over and over. It's boring. I'd much rather they use their nous and start thinking about how they move through the terrain, whether it be a dungeon or outdoors or whatever. So no, David Schrader, I completely disagree with the whole tone of your article here. Sensible sorcery. One of the joys of being a magic user in D&D is the chance to invent new spells appropriate. Yes. Encourage that. And that's a two-way. I'm sure I've mentioned that in one of these read-throughs of these before. It's a two-way process. The DM and the player should be working together in order to thrash out the details of any new spells, what sort of ingredients will be involved, the time involved, the effects, duration, all that sort of stuff, and what level it's going to be. And it needs to be, you need to work together. Trust your DM, trust your player, work together and accept. I mean, the DM's got the final decision, but talk to your player about it and come to some sort of agreement. And if your player won't accept what you say, as long as you're being reasonable, then put your foot down. So DMs be reasonable, players be reasonable, and that's how this sort of thing works. Players use your imagination here as well. And DMs encourage your players to use their imagination. So what we got here? Oh, right. Right there, your little cartoon. That polymorph spell has that polymorph. It looks like he's read a polymorph scroll, and the party are now a duck, a tortoise, turtle, lizard thing, and a pig. Why not? Why not? And look, yes, poor piggy. It's hard to hold a mace when you've got trotters instead of fingers. Boot hill encounter chart, or what to do between bank jobs. Useful, yeah, as long as these sort of things are Boot hill. It's Wild West, isn't it? So you've got shot at by 2 people. That's a bit rough. Mugged by 2 people. Murder job offer. Lady of the evening. Haha. Hidden sniper. Mistaken for a murderer. There's some of those there. It's a bit rough. If there's a 2 in 6 chance every hour, every half hour, that you're out in the town after 8 p.m. That's a little bit rough. I mean, you are allowed to have the occasional quiet night. Of course, unless you're looking for trouble. Right. Encounters with personality. There's a lot of articles in this, aren't there? There's a lot of articles in this one. Yes, some of them have been crap, but some of them have been quite well. Be judicious in which ones you use. Be selective. Encounters with personality, or how to amuse the dungeon master. Blarg, fighter, chaotic evil, hobgoblin. Blarg hates everything but ogres. These he emulates, but they hate him. Okay. Sneer, fighter, chaotic evil, orc. Sneer's right hand was cut off by an elf superhero. He learned to use his hammer as a weapon in his left hand. He still remembers the pain of the elf sword, so if an elf passes near, he will immediately attack its bearer. He eyes elves with distrust, but fears them, so he will wait and... Right, okay. Look at this. So he will immediately attack its bearer. And then next sentence it says, so he will wait until the elf's back is turned. That's not the definition of the word immediate, is it? Yeah, okay. Have some mechanic in place whereby he can't control his rage. I think that makes it more interesting. Roar! Bloody elves! Oh, sorry, I waved 2 hands about there. I should be doing 1 hand. Yeah. I'm in favour of elves getting attacked. Calcium advert. Tribes of Crane. There's another advert. Olympica. We're back into reviews. And here's another review which starts and then there's a half-page advert and the review's continued on page 22. Imperium. Another boxed conflict game from Games Designers Workshop. That just doesn't pop, does it? It really doesn't pop. Another boxed conflict game. I guess it says how you put the inflection when you say it. But the Hall of Mystery, a section deep in the Greenlands dungeon, Don Turnbull, Cambridge, England. Right, that's reminding Americans that there's more to England than London. There's a lot more to England than London. In fact, some of us who live in England don't really class London as England much anymore. Here's the entrance to the main hall. Alright, okay, it's a description of a dungeon. A description of a dungeon. Do we have a map? Yes, here we go. Here's a map. Description of a dungeon. Little key for monsters used. Dungeon layout. We've got mirrors, teleportation points. Is that a clock? It looks like a clock face in the middle almost. Are these meant to be doors? Or are these curtains? Curtains. It's quite high level. Night hags, intellect devourers, Otyug, mind flayer, Etin. Yeah, this is high level, isn't it? Yeah, initially draped by a sheet of white muslin. So yeah, these are. Where's the treasure behind all these curtains? Seems a bit odd. It's a bit of a bit. It looks like it's a bit of a fun house, doesn't it? Bit of a fun house. Okay. Rail Baron, a short course for empire builders. Oh, it's an Avalon Hill game, Rail Baron. Okay. Right. I know how Avalon Hill was really popular in America in the 70s. I still have upstairs a copy of the Civilization game. It wasn't released in Britain by Avalon Hill, it was done by another company. But I love that old Civilization game, it was great. And other Avalon Hill games I had Status Pro Football, American football game with cards. I like that. And my friend had Status Pro Boxing, which we quite enjoyed. Was it called Boxing? Was it called Title Bout or something like that? I can't remember what it was called. It was good fun. Good fun. They didn't quite take off as much over here, I think. Or maybe I just wasn't the right age to notice. But I was a big fan of Civilization. I had the computer game version of Advanced Civilization. Not the Sid Meier's one, but the conversion of the board game, the Avalon Hill board game. And apart from the AI being a bit in the trading, it was otherwise it was good. Right, so no, I think no problem in this sort of magazine. It's a magazine for nerds, and nerds enjoy board games. Do you remember Railroad Tycoon, early Sid Meier game? Enjoyed that. That was fun. Again, nerdy stuff. Good fun. I'm guessing all these tables are tips, optimal strategies. It's quite an in-depth article, isn't it? I don't know the game, so I'm not going to read it, but hey ho. International Dungeon Designer Competition. £400 in $400, sorry, in prizes. What's that? About £180, which was a decent amount of money back then. Yeah, that's like 500 odd pound nowadays. And more. And the rest. Ooh, a lot more than that. About £1,000 worth of prizes. That's pretty good. Game reviews. More game reviews. King Arthur's Knights. The Chaosium. Complex game, it's fun and one which can easily be played solitaire with the wife and kids. Cool. Olympica from page 13. The concept behind it is so tantalising. One wishes the generator would have played a little more active of a role in the game. Okay. Grenadier models. Borderlands of High Fantasy. Oh, here are some more of these personality things. So lots of random encounters. Random stuff is good. You've got to be judicious in what you use. You've got to be a bit selective. But take ideas from it. That other dungeon. What's this? Oh, right, okay. This looks like optional rules that were used at the official dungeon tournament at Gen Con 11. Right. Okay, I've never played the dungeon board game, so I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue. I know there's people who like it, but let's move along. Let's move along. The Silmarillion, a review. Was this a review of the book? Okay. I've not read the Silmarillion. I've heard people say it's hard work, and I did most of my reading of this sort of stuff when I was in my teens. I have, since the creation of the internet and all sorts of other distractions going on around me, I struggle to focus on reading. I need to have pretty much a house to myself and silence and no pressures, and then I can, with no distractions, no temptations. But no, with a family and work, I don't think I'll ever read the Silmarillion. Might dig out an audiobook. And I listened to the entirety of The Hobbit on an audiobook fairly recently, and most of the Fellowship of the Ring. I was listening to it on Spotify, and then that playlist got nuked, unfortunately. So, how old was I when I first read The Hobbit? I was about 8 or 9. When I read The Lord of the Rings, I was about 13 or 14. Watched the films, of course, but never really followed the Silmarillion. Okay. Dragon Lords. Okay, this is that review that has come from page 7. It's continued on page 27. They've tucked in a couple of God. Stupid layout nonsense. Adventures of Monty Hall. I've never been bothered about that. Don't find it funny. Those little bits of art are improving. That's not bad little bits of art. And there's the rest of the Dragon Lords review. Now, I'm wondering if they could have just put all that on half a page rather than scattering it across. It's a good review. Look, I mean, this game is not overly sophisticated, nor is it a physically beautiful thing, but it's quite easy to learn and enjoyable to play. So it's a positive review, but you're put off reading it because of the way it's scattered. And here's more of that personality one. Look. Phineas Fingers. To be continued. Is that it? 28 pages. I thought they'd increase the size of the dragon. Phineas Fingers on the last page. So down to 28 pages. There's not anything more in the index, is there? No? Phineas Fingers is the last thing? Oh. Okay. Well, it does say they had to go to press a little earlier than usual, which is fair enough. Right. Opinions of this one. Slightly shoddy cover. Not a badly drawn cover, but the way the colours have come out doesn't befit a cover image. I like the fact that they had a lot of features and articles. I think it was quite good. Yes, some of the articles were of very varying quality, including one particular one regarding what was it? Profit proofing, warding off the evil eye. Ridiculous. You don't punish characters for their spell choices. Well, I guess if they're just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, it gets boring. But no, if they're going into an unknown dungeon, then having things that will locate traps and give them forewarning of what is ahead is exactly what they should be picking. It's a clever choice. So whoever wrote that article, shame on you. The rest of this edition, though, shame it's down to 28 pages, but otherwise, pretty good. Hope you enjoyed this read through. I've been the Old Geek. See ya.